welcome to Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today, and just like any other day, we have another amazing show lineup for y'all. I know y'all are excited because this whole year is about to wind down. We're about to start a whole fresh year, 2025. Well, we're going to have an honor having someone, we're going to release this in 24 hours, but this will probably air on the radio side first Sunday of 2025 in January. That's January the 5th, 2025, that we'll have our guest on today. Today, we have true honor talking to an artist, author, and a art biz coach. Her name is Miriam Schulman, for everything about her professional career, but also everything that she has in store for our listening and our viewing audience today. But first and foremost, I just want to welcome you, Miriam, to the show and say thank you for clearing your calendar. And how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, Shmai. I cleaned my calendar and my studio a little bit.
Well,
just the parts you can see.
Right? Just make sure it's in the frame.
Yeah, that's right.
So
it's like trying to move my head to hide the day bit back there because it's not completely made. Here we go. Move over.
But first and foremost, like I said in the intro, you are a art biz coach, and you also have a show for your own platform. It's the Inspiration Place podcast. So when it comes to your professional background, before we get knee deep into what you do, kind of share with our audience a little bit about what has brought you so far in today's time, and how did you use your professional career to get to where you are today?
Oh, such great questions. So I haven't always been an artist. I did what I thought was the practical thing, and I went to Wall Street first. And after 9/11 happened, I decided that was a sign from the universe. I was not going to go back to corporate. I was going to focus just on my art. And so for 20 years, I made a sustainable living as an artist, primarily focusing on my portraits of children and families in watercolor. And around 2018 is when I started my podcast, The Inspiration Place. And once I did that, people said, hey, can you show me how to make a bigger art career, how to sell more art? And once I started coaching other artists, it really gave me a lot. It was really great to give back to the world in that way, to be able to share in my knowledge and help other artists be that person that I wish I had when I first started out 20 years ago.
When you mentioned earlier that you did witness 9/11, and that triggered you to turn the page and start a new chapter in your life, kind of take us back, because that sounds like a very interesting story in itself. Where were you during 9/11, and how long did it take for you to decide that you wanted to change the scenery and move on?
Yeah, great question. So I've been working on Wall Street in the World Trade Center when the first bombing happened of the World Trade Center. I was actually in the buildings. And at the time, we didn't really have cell phones, or they weren't that prevalent. We had no idea what was going on, and management didn't tell us what was going on. So my colleague and I were down in the cafeteria, and the power goes out, and we went up 37 flights to return to our desks. And when we got there, people were still working. Now, when 9/11 happened, I happened to be on maternity leave, but I knew that if I hadn't been on maternity leave, I might have been one of those people who didn't make it out at the second tower. Because if you remember what happened during that time, there was 20 minutes between when the first plane hit and the second plane hit, and they did not evacuate those nearby buildings. I remember in 1993 being in those buildings where my bosses expected me to keep working, not evacuating a building with a terrorist attack going on next door. So by the grace of God, there go I I felt saved in that moment and meant to do something different with my life, not to return to the culture that placed capital over human capital.
Man, that's a powerful story because that time, like, no one can forget where they were at that time.
No.
I was literally in school, and what was crazy is that the teachers, they kept it real chill, cool, calm, collected, and we didn't really know what was going on until like we got with our parents and stuff like that. But it was interesting because that was, yeah, I'll never forget just being eyes glued to the TV.
Yeah, exactly. And that day when we were all watching the TV, I saw the building I used to work in burn to the ground. So, because I wasn't in one of the two towers. I was directly across from it in 7 World Trade, and that one did burn to the ground that night on television. So there's nothing wrong with making a living. There's nothing wrong with making money. I think there's a lot of good that can be done in the world and still make a very good living for yourself, but not at the expense of other people. So that is why I decided to do something different with my life. And at first, I didn't believe I could make a living from my art. So even though that became more the obvious thing later on, at first, I didn't know that that was possible for me. So I took a job as an instructor at New York Sports Club, teaching Pilates. And the gym taught me how to sell personal training packages. And once I had that knowledge of sales, I had an aha moment. Oh, I could use these same skills to sell my art. And that changed everything for me. So now I did quit my job as a Pilates instructor and I focused on selling my art. So that was over 20 years ago. I think that was like now 25 years ago that I started down the journey of being a successful artist.
Well, once again, you're listening to Refocused Radio, talking to our guest today, Miriam Schulman, and she's an artist, author, and art biz coach. You go to her website. Her website is schulmanart.com. Let's get into what inspired you to not just build your brand, but like I said, you provide coaching as well. As a business owner, what was some of the red tape, if you will, that you had to get through, and once you got to the other side, when there's rainbow and sunshine, how did you feel about just those personal mile markers for your professional brand, and how that enabled you to be able to have a platform that inspires people, especially your clients?
That's a great question. So every step along the way, there is a moment where we say to ourselves, I want to do this, but I'm not ready yet. Now, our brains have evolved for survival, not goal achievement. So anytime we want to do something that's brand new, whether it's become an artist or start a podcast or perhaps coach other artists or write a book, we're going to come up with all kinds of reasons. Our brain's going to come up with all kinds of reasons why it's a terrible idea and we shouldn't do those things. And Shemaya, the smarter you are and the more creative you are, the better you'll be at coming up with those stories that will keep you safe, especially if you've had any kind of social programming, whether you're a woman or you're a member of a minority or any marginalized group or multiple things, that we are taught to play small because that's what's safe. Unfortunately, that comes at the expense of our dreams. So there's these moments where you have to push past the brain's natural mechanism, and it's not because there's something wrong with you. Notice how I didn't say excuses. This is the way we've all evolved, that we're going to want to play it safe and stay small at the expense of our dreams. So you have to get over that and make a plan to push through it anyway and do what's uncomfortable and be comfortable with failure and it not working out. And yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it wasn't a good idea, but maybe there's something else on the other side of that that you can learn from.
When you look at the terms a lot of people hear in the creative space is the starving artist, and that could be real depending on your unique situation. But for you as a professional, being able to overcome those hurdles and get past those roadblocks, how have you been able to set yourself up, position yourself to be able to thrive?
There's three things that I want to share on this. So number one, you do have to be making art that people want. Yeah. And by art, that could be music, that could be poetry, that could be writing, that could be painting, whatever your art is. So it's not like, oh, I decided, there's some people who can tape a banana to the wall and make $1 million. I know that's absolutely true. But for the most part, in terms of art, and this includes Michelangelo. Michelangelo painted the ceiling because the Pope wanted him to, not because he woke up and said one day, you know what's being a real artist? A real artist paints the ceiling. No, he didn't want to paint the ceiling. He wanted to sculpt angels and naked guys. But the Pope said, here's a paintbrush and here's some money. And Michelangelo's like, great, okay, show me how I get up there. Where's the scaffolding? Fine, I'll do it. So number one, you do need to be creating something where there's a demand in the marketplace. Number two is you need to market. Now, marketing is not about manipulating people to want something they don't already want. Because remember, I said number one is you have to create what people already want. Number two is tapping into that desire that's already in the marketplace. And number three is recognizing that cheaper isn't easier to sell. And when it comes to something like a luxury good, which art is, which fine art is, and we're going to talk about other types of art as well, people are willing to pay big bucks for the real thing. That's why right now, so I said this is more than just fine art. That's why when you can stream the world's music for $9.99 a month, people are dropping thousands of dollars to see Taylor Swift or go to the Sphere in Vegas to see U2 or whatever kind of music they like. They want the real thing. And the more we have AI and everything else churning out all that stuff, the more we want the real thing. The more we want what's the most human, what's the most real. And people are willing to pay big bucks for that. So those are the three things. Create what people want, tap into that desire, and don't be afraid to charge big bucks for it.
I like how you mentioned people want to spend a lot more money seeing a human and in their presence, because it's one thing to be at the concert versus you just on your phone chilling, listening to stuff on whatever music platform you chose listening on. But that's true. People want that human touch, and that human touch will never go away. AI has always been a very interesting topic. A lot of people are using it. I use it. But to your point, nothing can replace the human soul. And I think that's right. Uniqueness that gives the human the edge. Because, yes, AI has tools that can make you look smart and make you look great. But just because you use it doesn't necessarily mean that's you. And sooner or later, push come to shove, people won't be able to peep out what's actually going on. So it's a balance. AI is a great tool, but yeah, the human touch is something you can go away with. So let's talk about the creative process. When you look at how you maintain your balance between your art and coaching others, what are some of the things that you've learned with your different clientele?
That's a great question. So first of all, a lot of artists have the misconception that they need to do more and they need to create more. And the truth is, Shemaya, that we only have about 4 hours of genius creative time available to us each day. They've done studies, everyone from scientists like Darwin to musicians like Beethoven to writers like Hemingway to, I know those are all white males, but I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head. But they've done studies across all industries and all disciplines, and they found that throughout time, across all these disciplines, they really only had 4 hours of genius time available to them. And the rest of the day, they were smoking in the cafe or drinking wine or taking walks in the woods or doing whatever. And we're not machines. We only have that limited amount of creative time. So if we use that time and not try to burn ourselves out and limit ourselves, we actually get more done rather than less. So usually balance is 100% possible as long as you recognize that you're only going to you're going to max out and optimize on your creative genius at about 4 hours a day.
If y'all didn't know, this is a masterclass, so you might want to listen to this episode a couple of times. Like I said, this episode will be released 24 hours, but also be airing first Sunday of the new year 2025. Everybody is already racing to find out, okay, what's going to be the main marketing trend for 2025? What's my strategy? What was that hot new thing? It's like we're always itching for the hot new thing. With you in your business, I mean, you don't have to spill the secret sauce, but
I'm ready. You want to hear it?
What do you see, man?
Okay, so I have two things I can share about the hot new thing. So one is so you let me know which direction to go. One is how to focus our marketing, but the other is how to focus our art, like in terms, and by art, I mean any kind of art. So which do you think your audience most wants to hear?
I would say marketing.
Okay. All right. Marketing. Beautiful. Okay. So first of all, the gorilla of marketing platforms, it's still Instagram dominating right now. Google is number one, followed by Instagram. But you also have to look at the platforms demographically. So if you're going to a younger demographic, it's going to be more content creation. Younger generations, they like micro trends. You have to create more content, and you're going to find them more on YouTube and TikTok. For an older demographic, you will also find them on YouTube, but also LinkedIn. They're more loyal. They're not into the cancel culture the way the younger generation is. So that's where I see the two things going out. But what's across both of them? YouTube, which is, we discussed this right before we hit record. YouTube is like, there's never been a more important time to get yourself onto YouTube. It has, for podcasting, surpassed iTunes in terms of downloads and listens. I'm sure you already know this. Yep. And the other thing is, and I just learned this recently by accident, if you are sending emails out, Gmail is going to prioritize the placement of those emails in the inbox rather than the promo tabs if you have a link to a YouTube video. Yeah. So when I discovered that, because we were doing some deep dive analytics, why is my open rates dropped? Why is my click rates dropped? It's because my emails were being found more in the promotions tab. But there was one email that we had the YouTube link in. It got a crazy amount of opens, and it was because Gmail had put it into the inbox. Now, for those who haven't connected the dots yet, why is that? Well, because Gmail is owned by Google, which also owns YouTube. And Gmail, the company, Google, is going to make more money if they are sending more traffic to YouTube.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad you said it, because number one, I told you before we even jumped on here, is that people finally convinced me to do a video for our channel, and we started in September. And since then, we have grown 500 plus subscribers, and it's proof that if you actually do it, like it's going to work. So the next step in 25 will be like how we do it. So it's like it's one thing to start, but then it's another next step to get to the next level is be very strategic with how you move. What are some of the basic principles how they can build that solid foundation of how they want to brand themselves in front of the online audience?
So first of all, I want to just first speak to the podcasting. So we've been publishing our podcast, The Inspiration Place, on YouTube for a while, but only as an audio. And we would get listens on there, maybe 50 to 100 listens. But now we're taking the extra step to publish the video podcasts, publish the same content as a video, and now it's 1,000, watches or listens to on the initial broadcast, which of course, as you know, builds over time. I think it's very important to have a narrow focus. When I go a little bit off of my focus, you don't get those listens and downloads. YouTube is not going to show your video. If you are a decorator and you suddenly decide you're going to share your lasagna recipe, you're laughing, but you've seen home decor people, they're suddenly doing something janky like that, right? No, they're not going to show it because we're not tuning into you for your lasagna recipe. Just show us what color to paint our walls. That's it. Like, stick to your lane. You're not Martha Stewart. We don't, that might come for you later, but right now, don't show us your lasagna. Don't show us your appetizers. Just tell us how to decorate. So, and that's true of whatever niche you're in. Like, stick to your lane, stick very closely to it, because when you go off of it, either make a brand new channel, which I don't think is really what you want to be doing because now it's double the work, or just don't do that. And take a good look at, it's more about an editing process. We also try to be in all places all the time, like doing a live stream where we're live streaming onto YouTube, LinkedIn, and Amazon. I wouldn't recommend that either. Be really good at one place. And it used to be you want to be everywhere at all at once. You don't want to do that anymore. Pick the one place and show up in that one place the way that they want you to show up. So the way you're expected to show up.
Yeah, I better send this podcast episode to everybody because this is real. Because I literally just watch the YouTube. I go on YouTube University all the time because I'm trying to learn from the greatest.
Because us older people also watch YouTube, by the way.
But one thing I learned, to your point, and I know we got to wrap this up, but I know we have one thing is for sure with YouTube, and that is how you set up. So if you want some secret sauce on additional what Miriam just said, on YouTube, just type in how to sub your channel. Because I was watching through multiple videos, and the common thing I was seeing was on YouTube, they want you to select the country you're in, right, and the keywords. If you don't know what that is, then you probably skip that stuff, and you probably go to your settings and find out that's blank. And that right there, word to the wise, will give you additional traffic boosts. I've done it, and it has definitely helped people find the channel, because I'm telling you, there's some things that if you just kind of explore the settings and set up the framework of your channel, it makes it a little bit more easier for the algorithm to find you. And I'm not trying to boast, but for the past 48 hours, for the past 3 months, we're averaging 1,000 to 2,000 views across our videos in 48 hours. And that's no ads, nothing, just us putting our podcast out there. So I'll let you have the honors to wrap this up for our audience. But I couldn't agree more with this idea of going to the place where you're good at and you're seeing more response, because it makes more sense. If you have 20 people respond to your YouTube platform versus 5 people on Instagram, hey, neglect Instagram and focus on YouTube. And once YouTube starts to go crazy, I would say you can probably experiment and try other platforms, but maybe share your YouTube stuff on that platform, or kind of have some kind of connecting the dots where you're telling the audience where they can find you.
We also found, and you probably also found this, Shemaya, that it makes a huge difference, the thumbnail.
Yeah.
And it's like, so like, I'm girly. I like to look good, but the thumbnails that perform the best, I'm making the jankiest faces. Like, right? Like, it's like the shock face or the, like really with the big emotions. I call them, I tell my team, it's okay if I look ugly, just whatever is going to pull. Yeah, what's going to get the click, get them in, because they're not tuning in for my beauty secret, so I don't have to look pretty in that thumbnail.
No, I agree. You know what? You might just help me a little bit. I might have to just make a goofy face, because the AI thing now that YouTube does, they generate different thumbnails for you to choose from, even A and B testing. So, like, we're all in this together as far as the whole YouTube University. And it's one thing. I know I burned a little bit of time, but I'm going to take it just one more point. It was another video I was watching where the guy was saying, when you are doing your show and you make it 100% about the listener or the viewer experience, it makes everything beautiful. Like the whole energy, the whole connection. It's almost like they're in the conversation with you.
1,000%. I always pretend that they're sitting right next to us at the table. And that is like what's the hardest part about being podcaster / YouTuber, is you have to make it look like a swan on the surface, but you're really like a duck. Like, you may be gliding along, but underneath you are paddling so madly because you're listening to what the other person's saying. You're thinking about what you're going to say. And you're also thinking about, what does my listener really need to hear right now? How can I guide this conversation and make sure that their questions are answered?
So if you listen to this right now, our guest, she has a website. Go to schulmanart.com and make sure you check out everything that she has to offer. Her podcast show, her freebies. She has consulting, business coaching. She has a free masterclass. You can have a membership by logging in, sign up. She has books. I mean, come on now. Artpreneur, the step-by-step guide to making a sustainable living from your creativity. She has it all. So if you're ready for 2025, just like everybody else, man, like, just know this. If you're going to be a creator, if you're going to be a business owner, if you're going to be the best employee working 9 to 5 and work your way up the ladder, the secret is you have to be confident and focused and believe in yourself, and then surround yourself with the best people and the brightest people in the room, because they will force you to level up. So on that note, I want to say thank you to our guest, Miriam, for taking time talking today. If someone wants to connect with you and explore any services that you offer for them, what's the best way they can keep in touch?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, Schulman Art, SCHULMANART, and send me the word believe. And I will send you chapter 1 of Artpreneur for free. It's called Choose to Believe. I want you to believe in your dreams in 2025. And most importantly, make more money so that you can thrive.